Hi. So I wanted to share my experience and my perspective dealing with narcissists, or that label we put on people, narcissists or having narcissistic tendencies, which I think most of humanity has some narcissistic tendencies. But then there's people who are like, yeah, that's a full-blown narcissist. So since my awakening, I've been kind of working with that energy, and I just kind of wanted to share, see maybe it would help somebody. So first, what do I mean by narcissist, and what has been my experience? I see my entire family as narcissists: my parents, my brother, his wife, my grandparents, my relatives. And what do I mean from when I see? One is they're never wrong to themselves. So they'll never admit that they're wrong. They'll never apologize for being, doing something wrong. They will get defensive, like play the victim if they're wrong at something. Or my dad once, after throwing something in my eye, said, I ran away shaking, crying. He was in the bathroom. I locked myself in the bathroom. It's the only room that had a lock. He broke through the door, and he was sitting like, he was kind of admitting that he wasn't right about throwing stuff in my face, but I was already like totally terrified from everything. And then he also said, but you've been kind of rotten for a while, so it's kind of deserved it. So that's kind of like when narcissists, if they will ever admit that they're wrong at something, they're going to flip it back on you. I mean, whenever I try to talk about childhood, my mom would still blame me for everything, like since I was little. Like everything. They almost expect you to be a mind reader. So they expect you to read their mood, but they never read yours. They expect you to already know stuff and be good at stuff without ever teaching you or telling you. And if you don't know something or you're not good at something, you get trashed. These people can be quite successful in life and hardworking, so they can carry a lot of like what society considers good virtues, good values. My parents were always working, hardworking, pushing forward. We're from Soviet Union. They're kids of Holocaust survivors, World War II veterans. A lot of trauma, and they persevered as immigrants, and did the whole immigrant thing. A lot of their arguments are very circular or illogical. It's like if you spend more time trying to defend yourself, it's like you're going into a maze, basically, that you can't get out of. Like the more you spend that time with them, it's like the more you're like, I don't know how we even got here. I don't know where we are. I don't even know what we're talking about anymore. It just feels like you're inside a maze that you can never get out of. So here's just my things of what to do, what not to do, or what I've been doing, not doing since my awakening. The first thing that I changed about myself is to stop putting out morality and what's right and wrong. Stop with all the narrative of the self-help books about communication, and just tell people how you feel. And when I say morality, telling a narcissist that they were wrong at something, that it wasn't right, they don't give a shit. telling them that they love them. And I've heard people saying, you know, spread more loving energy to them. Just love, love, love. That's all bullshit, in my view. It doesn't phase them at all. You're just going to wear yourself out, because again, you're sending energy outside of you. Like, what is that going to do to you? Sending energy outside of you. And that means your thoughts are always on them. Again, everything is going outside of you. So what is that going to do to you? When you're up against a narcissist, whether they're attacking you or you'll end up in a confrontation with them, they're going to come at you. Well, that's been my experience for 36 years, to kind of destroy you at that point. Once they're triggered, they're coming up, they will do whatever they can to destroy you, annihilate you. They do not see their child, and they do not see their family member, their loved one. They got to destroy you. They're going to pull out whatever they can. But narcissists are cowards in reality, scared little kids. So I think it's important to look them in the eyes to show you're not afraid of them. They're going to try to put fear into you, kind of like what's happening globally with the elites trying to put fear into us. That's narcissism. They're going to try to put as much fear into you by threatening you. And that's why they get violent too, because that's the ultimate way to shut you up, to get you to stop. So it needs to come to a point, I feel, where no matter what they do to you, you won't stop. And of course, it's a tricky situation because they could get violent. But I reached with my parents where I don't care what they do to me. I don't care if they hit me. I don't care if they harm me even more than that, maybe even with a knife, which they've never done, but you know, they've thrown stuff at me, or at each other. So I've reached to the point where I don't care if I get physically harmed. It's kind of thinking, if you think of like back in the days, like when we had martyrs, like they were so firm to their faith that didn't care that they were going to get executed or set on fire alive, you know, or tortured. They were like so firm to their faith. And that's kind of how I set my mind. You know, I'm not telling you what to do. This is just sharing what I've been practicing for myself, where if I'm up against my mom or dad and they're threatening me, it's like, go ahead, do your worst, because I will do mine. And the worst, you know, I'll talk a little bit more, but you know, they are more afraid of you than you are of them. And that's why they come at you so hard. It's just like an animal, right? A snake or a bear or whatever. They are more afraid of you than you are of them. And that's why they attack, to protect themselves. I think it's very important to not get into a big back and forth, trying to explain yourself or to prove something to them. That's how you get into circular arguments, and that's how you just put them more into defensive, and then it's going to just escalate. So a lot of times we kind of really want to like get to the truth and try to prove our point and prove and explain where we're right and they're wrong. It's all irrelevant because they're not listening. They're never going to listen. All they are is you keep coming out with facts, even if you try to be all rational, the more you come out with facts, the more they're coming out with ammo, or, you know, putting up that wall and shooting out of that wall. So, you know, the information that you're sending, it's not going through. All it is just building, help, you know, just reinforcing that wall. The more you keep going, the more that wall is going to build. I don't think going to these back and forth helps at all. And you hear people arguing all the time. And it's one thing that I've kind of noticed I need to stop doing. There's an exception. There are times that I felt like I got to hit him hard here. And it's like you got to feel out when it actually matters. So maybe it's something, you got to pick your timing and the situation where you feel like this is so crucial. And when you do that, it's not about explaining anything. It's about hitting them hard with facts or with the truth. And you got to be brutal. You cannot protect their feelings because they're not protecting yours at all. So a lot of times when we argue with people, we're also trying to be nice and trying to protect their feelings by being civilized and because we're like, how will the world perceive us? So when we're arguing with somebody, it's like in the back of our minds, we can be like, well, how will the world perceive? Like, I need to be a good person and a nice person here and a compassionate person and say things in a nice way and in a compassionate way. I feel like all of that is complete BS. Because again, you're dealing with a narcissist, you're not dealing with a rational person here. So the only way to weaken a narcissist is by being totally brutal. For example, last time I had a big explosion with my parents. I called my mom. I call it some kind of name. I made a video about this, this was like a few weeks ago. And gosh, what did I call her? But then it's like, it was not a nice thing to say to a person, and especially a mother. But at the same time, it was all true. Like, this is how I totally saw her. Like, I think I called her a crazy bitch or something like that, but in Russian. Because her behavior was that. And it's like, if I came at her like, Mom, this is not a nice way to be. This is disrespectful. And when I was doing that, she didn't care at all. When I was telling her like the way you behave is completely disrespectful to me, they don't care. She didn't care. So I hit her harder with name calling. And I know in society we've been groomed like that's not a nice thing. We gotta be nice, be kind, be compassionate. This is all social conditioning, in my view. So if you're ready to put on the gloves when the narcissist, you gotta be so brutal with them, but be true. This was not to be cruel or to make fun of her. This was the brutal truth. Like, I called her once, like, she looks like a fat whale, and she does. And it's ridiculous what she's doing to herself. And it's like, if I was nice, like, hey, Mom, let's go for a walk. Hey, let's do some workout. She wouldn't be doing any of that, and she would get defensive, which she does. So when I hit her with calling her a fat whale or something like that, or a rotten whale on the beach, that's the perception I have of her, because how she got is just ridiculous. Like, I don't see her another way anymore. So I can't be all compassionate. There's nothing to be compassionate about. Like, woman, get your shit together. And sometimes the brutal truth could actually help. It hasn't helped yet. She still remains the same way. But the point wasn't to help her, it was to just help myself. Like, because this is how I view her, and it upsets me. And she came at me with something, so she was attacking me. So it's like, when you need to protect yourself against a narcissist, go in all the way. Don't eye contact, body language. Do not listen to the social crap that you've been conditioned to. Like, go in all the way, because they're pulling all of their punches, all their ammo at you. So they don't care about society in that moment. If they're willing to get violent, they're not thinking about society. Then why should you? I know people like talk about, well, you got to be the better person. Well, if you, or the higher road or whatever. But if you're thinking of that way, then you're trying to be better than them. And this is not about being better. This is about protecting yourself physically and energetically. This is not about who's better or who's worse. That's ego. So now we're going into the spiritual aspect, and this is why the awakening helped me see things in a different way. So the way I see narcissists are people vibrating with a low frequency, low density, and, and because of that, the demonic entities or the entities that feed off our energy are able to attach themselves to narcissists and feed off of them. And to the point where there's no rescuing them from it. Like you're not going to detach. And even like just talking with my guys, they're like, don't worry about that. Like they are how they are. And this is about you. So me trying to save them from these demonic entities is a completely waste of time. I even thought of like, because my dad has bad legs, and it makes sense, like where you have wounds, that's where these entities are feeding off. And I was able to remove one, but then it's like, well, another one was going to come right back, like come and attach itself. So it's like, what's the point? It's like a pointless battle. Because my dad's thoughts still, they need to be all shifted. And it's like, it's a huge waste of time and energy. The point of this is look at what they trigger in you. So if you interacted with a narcissist for even 2 minutes, most likely they've triggered something in you. And it's more important to sit with yourself and see and give yourself the attention and the love to see, like, what did they trigger in you? It's not and it's very important to say, like, oh, they're the narcissists, they're the bad ones. It's not about that. It's about sitting with yourself. Okay, what insecurities, because they triggered your insecurities. What insecurities did they trigger in me? What expectations maybe, what vulnerabilities, and sit with that so you can release it. Because the way I see it is, there's the demonic entities attached to the narcissist, but they're attached to you as well. They know what to trigger. So if they have full control over the narcissist, they can position the narcissist to do something that will trigger you. And if you allow it to continue inside of you, keep bothering you, there is an entity that's feeding off of you. They kind of work in, they help each other out. And I've seen these situations like this past year, like when I see like these entities using one of my parents or a neighbor against me, sort of, so that it triggers me, it starts bothering me. And it's like, usually it's something really small and really stupid at this point. And it's like, zik, got you. And then it's like, my guys are like, right away, step in. Remember, demonics. And they're like, you gotta sit with that, release it. Don't let it grow. Don't let it stay with you. Don't let it stay bothering you. Step back into your privacy and release that shit. So as an example, past 2 days, I was helping my dad, taking him to appointments, doctor appointments. So he's home this week, and yesterday, so I took him to appointments in the morning, and in the afternoon I had work. So I'm rushing in the kitchen to get get my lunch ready. And so I'm in this section of the kitchen where I'm getting stuff ready. He comes with his bowl of soup, plops it right where all my stuff is, and I'm waiting for my coffee. And I'm like, you don't have work. I have to rush to work now. Why do you need to, like, the very second, need to step in and start doing your own thing? And he was like, blah, 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 blah. There is no rationale here. Like, you could have waited 5 minutes. So, because I was like quickly rushing. And then my minds are like, this is the things I get for 2 days, waking up early to take him to an appointment. And then he's being inconsiderate, like knowing that I have to go to work. And I reshuffled my whole schedule so that I can help him out. So the wounded child could go, how could you be so insensitive? I did this, I did that for you. You could have waited 5 minutes, blah, blah. You know, the wounded child can just go on because it's like, this was kind of rude and inconsiderate. And then I remembered, even in these situations, especially in these type of situations, these entities will swoop in to trigger. So they don't care about my feelings, especially like if I have feelings about something, that's where they're going to swoop in. And because my dad is completely hooked in, they're going to use him. You know, he's not even thinking. He's not even like, he was not thinking at all. You know, he's just acting on impulse. A lot of times you see narcissists just act on impulse. Yeah, and I truly believe that impulse is, you know, these entities talking to them and using them. And there's nothing you do. This is a spiritual battle. It's not about them, it's about you. So once I'm like, okay, yeah, most likely, they're trying to trigger me, try to trigger my, you know, me being, trying to be a good daughter, trying to be a good person, you know, they know I'm sensitive towards that. So they're going to use it. So I didn't give it to them. I bit my lip, let him do his stuff. I just waited and just left and took care of my emotions. You know, I finished eating, sat down a little bit to release, and that was it. It's much better than saying, you know, going at him and saying, how could, you know, why are you doing this? Why are you being so inconsiderate? And it just makes you feel better. And because you're not feeding these entities. So they might have ate a little bit, but you know, they got crumbs from me at this point. And little by little, they get less and less. So as I started this video, I don't know if I said this, but if you are around narcissists and you can't get away from them, use them because they're triggering you. So this is a perfect opportunity to release all those triggers. And I have a video about triggers if you want to look how to release them. You can message me some more if you want to know more about how to release triggers, how to sit with them. Yeah, so this is a perfect opportunity to use it. So it feels yucky, it feels overwhelming, but it's actually like a whole boot camp of training and information that you can get in this time you're with them. Whether you're living with your parents like I am, or with a fiance, a boyfriend, a husband, a wife, girlfriend, friend, relatives, whoever, use it. doesn't mean you'll be with them forever, you know, for the rest of your life. Now the fear is like, I just want to get away. But a lot of times you can't get away. So this is a perfect opportunity to go to school. Like, it sucks, it's hard, but it's actually the best program. Like, if you look at it as like a training program, is the best one you can get.